What's up, everybody? Today we are talking about how 1 cent can make your mix feel like $1 million. Let's go.
Giddy up.
Fix your ear on the vocal. Pay attention to how it feels size-wise and where your ear locates it.
Tried 2-inch strong. I tried and you're not true. Tried 2-inch strong. I tried and you're not true.
You see, there's two types of mindsets around plugins and engineering. One, kind of the mindset of collect these plugins and apply. And the second, which is the one that I feel I prescribe more to, is study why these techniques are so effective or why these tools are so effective. So see, today really isn't about the Eventide H910. It's really about understanding what's under the hood of this legendary studio technique so that once you understand that, you know how to build it and even more importantly, how to customize and evolve it. So I know your first reaction is, oh yeah, cool, let's click off the video because you probably piped the MicroShift on it. No, actually, we're going to talk about how this is a little different from the MicroShift, and we're going to look at this method, which is actually an iconic method that was derived from using the Eventide H910 harmonizer. If you don't own this, can't afford it, don't want to purchase it, I'm going to show you how to build this custom, because what's amazing about this is once you understand the science behind how this works, you'll be able to create your own custom versions of a vocal enlarger or an instrument enlarger that'll have people, when they're listening to your mix, saying, I wonder how they achieve that sound.
How does he do that?
As opposed to being somebody who just pops a MicroShift or Dimension D because every other, vocal tutorial out there or whatever says, use this widener. It's what everybody uses. So first and foremost, let's talk about the science. The Eventide H910 came out in the 70s, and basically it really kind of, revolutionized pitch shifting. Prior to this, they were using tape machines. Why this works so amazing, our brain, what it does is it constantly tries to differentiate between what the left ear is hearing and the right ear is hearing. When our two ears are hearing tiny disagreements, and I mean essentially microscopic disagreements in pitch, frequency, timing, and phase, it tricks our brain. It tricks our brain into still perceiving that as one source, but just a bigger source. And that is actually something that in a mix, especially if we don't have many instruments or the mix feels pretty small, we can manipulate to our benefit. And the 910 was really one that engineers started using to actually make it feel like, in a lot of ways, they were bending perception.
Free your mind.
Was it Tony Visconti, David Bowie's engineer for many years, was in love with the 910 when it came out. Tom Lord-Alge would use this dual mono trick a ton. I believe Joe Ciccarelli uses it and has talked about it. It's just something that has this special kind of magic, and understanding how to construct it on your own gives you, say, for example, that whole Jack Antonoff wild level of creativity where you can just start with this and then take it as far as you want, send them to a bus and put, a tremolo on or a reverb and automate those on and off and just do some great things to give your song or the mix you're working on something a little more special. So let's talk about how we do this. Essentially, it's a dual channel way to process something. So what I did was, off my vocal, I set up a single send, a mono send called the 910, and I created 2 channels that are getting that same feed. So you can see up here 910, 910. And on each one, I have a version of the H910, which I think, cost-wise, is probably anywhere between $75 and $150, depending on when you buy it. Now, again, stay tuned, because I'm going to show you how to build this with stock stuff. Just understanding how to build these will give you the ability to customize things in a way that you can't if you already own the MicroShift or using something that's subtly different like the Dimension D. So on the harmonizer, all we really need to focus on are 2 parameters. The first is the pitch. We are pitching up on one side, the side right now that's hard pan left, 1 cent. Now what's cool is this kind of does, you can see a little natural modulation, a little natural fluctuation, so it moves between 1 and 2. And then feedback. I'm at about 15%. With this, you could use anywhere between 10, 15. If you're looking to do things more extreme, kind of play around and find something that, really kind of feels fun and unique to you. And what the feedback is doing is it's actually feeding this back into itself, which is where you start to get some of that density. If you wanted to play with delays, you could go and add in some additional delay, which is fun and, can start to create some other kind of custom effects. But what you're doing now is you might be separating a sound source and creating something that feels like an audible effect. This isn't really audible effect, it's more size. Okay, so on the left, we are pitching up 1 cent, and on the right, hard panned, we are pitching down. And again, we're getting just a little bit of modulation, and we're around 14.2 in our feedback. So let's listen in solo.
Trying to reach strong. I tried and you're not true. Days will be over soon.
So many great techniques started with an engineer asking, what happens if I pitch this up a little? What happens if I pitch this down a little? What happens if I really drive into this? What happens if I reverse this? What happens if I put it on a snare? You get the point. So see, a lot of the stuff that we use today that we consider to be common processing techniques were either kind of born out of necessity, the abuse or misuse of gear, or engineers asking very creative questions. And that's really what I want to foster, and a big part of what this channel is about understanding the why and then asking creative questions on how we can take something and bring it deeper into our taste sensibilities. Now, let's look at how we can build this from scratch. So we'll mute this. I did the same exact thing, set up a channel called Scratch, and we're using just a stock Avid plugin called Pitch. Most DAWs probably have something, and on one side we are pitching up, and I put the feedback around 14%, and on the other side we are pitching down, and I had the feedback around 15%.
Trying to reach strong. I tried and you're not true. Trying to reach strong. I tried and you're not true.
So we're getting that same vibe. The only thing we're not getting, and you could absolutely have some fun doing some automation between 1 and 3 cents and get a little bit of fluctuation. I mean, you can go as crazy as you want. We're using this as a creative tool. And when you're working on this and trying this out, play around and find when you start to feel inspired, when you start to feel excited about what you're building here. This isn't a recipe. I don't want you to think this video is me telling you set this, and cool. You can use what I'm telling you as a way to understand what's going on under the hood. This dual 910 is what created presets in the famous H3000. I have the Ultra Harmonizer DSP 4000, and they have pitch shifting presets. So we're really kind of going back and looking at where it all started, because now we can turn around and use this to create unique things for us, unique effects. If we're working on a mix and a vocal doesn't feel interesting, you now have one more thing in your toolbox that you can use to go ahead and say, hey, let me try this out and let me try and do something fun or interesting. So now let's get to the part where, some of you might be like, well, I just want to use a MicroShift. The MicroShift is similar to the 910 in the sense that you're really kind of working with, subtle variances in pitch, in timing, in frequency. But what you get when you're either building your own custom or you're even kind of messing with the 910 is you get greater control over those parameters. If somebody just says, oh yeah, mixing on an SSL or a Neve is what you want to do, right? And you just want to go out and buy a Neve if you could afford it, or buy an SSL and just have it there and just know, cool, it's going to do its thing. But then there's some of us, and I think I put myself in this category to say, if somebody came and said, hey, EJ, you can buy it, we'll give you an SSL, we'll give you a Neve, or we can build you your own custom console. And that's what kind of led me to my Vibe Bus. If you saw my Vibe Bus video, is I love the thought of thinking, being in love with this craft, that we can design things that are unique to us and unique to our taste sensibilities and be just a little different than the way other people do things. And it doesn't need to be over the top, but rather it just gives our mix a little bit of our character without us, essentially splashing our ego all over somebody else's material. And that's what I love about really getting under the hood on things and making subtle differences that just make your dual harmonizer a little different than just popping on a MicroShift. Let's go back and listen in context of the mix. First, we'll hear it with the MicroShift.
Trying to reach strong. I tried and you're not true. Trying to reach strong. I tried and you're not true.
In the context of the mix, it just makes the vocal feel larger. And there's something about that I really like. A little bit larger than life, which makes when we listen to records feel very fun. And again, it's not really about who's better than whose technique is better, which plugin is better, the 910, the MicroShift. What it's really about is understanding that every plugin basically is a collection of ideas. And once you really kind of understand the ideas and the mindset and the technique that is inside inside that particular plugin, again, you have the power to start creating things that are very unique and creative and valuable for the way that you work, and also allow you subtle ways of creating things that inspire you inside your mixes and also have something that's just a little bit different. Now, the other cool thing about this, and I've used it in a variety of circumstances, let's actually move this down to the snare drum, because we can use this on a whole host of instruments. And let's listen to the snare drum now, with and without the 910 in.
Trying to ain't strong. I tried and you're not true. Trying to ain't strong. I tried and you're not true. Days will be over soon.
Snare immediately gets a little more size. Okay, so a quick one today, but I really hope that the message came through loud and clear, which is we can pop plugins on. And essentially when we do, we're just taking things that are stock and putting it in our mix. Sometimes there's an amazing reason to do that. Other times it's awesome to know what's under the hood. Sometimes it's great to go out and just buy a race car. Other times you could sit there and you could assemble everything the way that you want and build something that's custom to you. And a lot of times those are the things that really can help either create happy accidents through those experimentations or give something that extra shot of life that it needs. So what I hope for this video is that you walk away feeling inspired, feeling motivated, and I hope the next time you're stuck in a mix, you say to yourself, oh, let me try that dual harmonizing trick and see if that does anything to spark my creativity or help me kind of resolve this issue that I'm experiencing. Okay, my friends, have fun mixing. See you next time.